Good evening. Welcome on into the evening edition of From Day One. We pick up where we left off with court, the sentencing of the individual from LinkedIn in the park, and then we have our other case.
On appeal but are financially unable to retain a lawyer on appeal, you can make application to Michigan Indigent Defense Commission / State Appellate Defender Office to see if you qualify for representation on appeal. However, that has to be done within 14 days of today's date. Do you understand that advisal then, Mr. Quistorf?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Do you understand the order of the court?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right, you're going to receive that in writing here before you leave. We'll send you down to the clerk in the probation. Is there anything else, Attorney Muir?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Cass?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll be off the record.
Very much, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Remember, you look marvelous.
Okay, you are Mr. Plamp, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Plamp, you're here with Mr. Johnson, your attorney. Also here is Ms. Henry, the clerk. Ms. Janes is our court reporter. We have Mr. McHugh here from the department. Mr. Johnson, you've had an opportunity to discuss this matter with your client, is that correct?
I have, Your Honor. As to the underlying violations, he would waive the right to call witnesses, have a hearing formally at this time, and he would be admitting to the violations and providing an explanation to the court.
All right, we're starting a little bit early. We're 4 minutes from the period at which this was set. Is there any objection from Mr. Johnson or the department to proceeding at this time? Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
And the department?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me go to you then, Mr. Plamp. It's been explained to me by your attorney that you wish to go ahead and plead guilty to the charges that have been filed against you by the probation department. Those charges are a probation violation. There are 3 counts. The counts are that you had contact, number 1, with Rachel Wilcox and violated your order, and that you had ongoing contact with her. And count 2, they allege you violated condition 23 by changing residences without authorization. And in count 3, that you not violating the criminal law that you alleged that you possessed methamphetamine on October 19th of 2023. As I understand it, you intend to plead guilty to those charges. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
You understand that the underlying offense that you were convicted of is third offense domestic violence. It's a 5-year felony here in the state of Michigan, and you're subjected to penalties within that period. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. In that case, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Help me God.
Okay, you read and understand the English language, correct?
Yes, sir.
You can hear and understand me now?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson is your attorney, and you've had a chance to discuss with him the charges that have been filed against you and any possible defenses that you might have to those charges, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're satisfied with his advice, true?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you had any drugs, alcohol, or substances that might affect your judgment in the last 24 hours?
No, sir.
So you understand that at each and every phase of this process, you've got the right to your own lawyer, and if you can't afford one, that I would appoint one for you at the public's expense.
Yes, sir.
You've also got the right to have a hearing on these charges today. At that hearing, the department will present evidence as to why they think you're guilty. You'd have the right to cross-examine their witnesses and present your own defense. At the end of that hearing, I would make a decision based on a
Don't worry, we're warming up. It gets there.
preponderance of the evidence standard. That's a tipping of the scales, 50% plus a little bit. If I thought the department met that burden, I'd find you guilty. If I thought they had not met that burden, I would find you not guilty. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you understand that, hold on. It looks like we have the victim here as well. Let's go ahead and bring her in, please.
There we go. Let's let the victim in. Spice this thing up a little bit.
Okay, you are Rachel Wilcox, is that correct? Ms. Wilcox, can you see and hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. We began just a little bit early on this case. We have been in discussion with Mr. Plamp. He is going to admit guilt with regard to the 3 counts that have been filed against him. We've just been going through those counts. Okay, that's where we stand. You are welcome to observe, and I'll
Okay, the defendant's already going to admit guilt to 3 counts, but that is not going to prevent her from dunking on him.
be back with you in just a few minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, sir, you understand that if I accept your pleas today, that a conviction will enter against you on all 3 of those charges.
Yes, sir.
And has anyone made any promises, threats, or any other untoward advances in order to get you to plead guilty to these charges?
No, Your Honor.
Are either Mr. Johnson or the department aware of any promises, threats, or inducements that are not part of the record?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Plamp, are you making this decision to enter pleas of guilty to counts 1 through 3 of your own free will and your own free volition?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you doing so because you are in fact guilty?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about what happened. Count 1 alleges that you violated condition 31 by not having contact, or pardon me, by having contact with Ms. Wilcox. Is it true that during the months of July and August of 2023, you were having contact with Ms. Wilcox?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
All right. And in count 2, they allege that you failed to report a change of residence without authorization. Is it true that on or about July 1st of 23, you changed your residence without getting authorization from the department?
Yes, sir.
And in count 3, they allege that you violated condition 1, which requires that you not violate any criminal law, in that on or about October 19th of 23, you possessed or used the controlled substance methamphetamine. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And I should have asked you this before, but you understand that by entering these pleas today, I don't know whether you're on probation for some other count, parole or bond, but that information could be used in order to take action with regard to those matters. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you're sure that substance was methamphetamine? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where did you possess it?
I believe it is a true use, Your Honor. I spoke with Agent McHugh, and I believe he tested positive, but the language he put in the violation implied that he would have had to have possessed it to use it.
Understood. So, sir, you knowingly possessed the substance methamphetamine, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you used it, is that correct?
Sir.
And this occurred on October 19th of 23?
Yes, sir.
All right. I guess I should ask you this, Mr. Johnson. Are there charges coming with regard to that matter as far as you know?
There are not, and that's why I specified that I think the language, that was my concern initially, was that when we have possession, we have cases when we have use on probation, typically we don't. But I don't think that there was actually any methamphetamine found. I think it was a positive test.
Understood. Well, are there any additional questions regarding the factual basis, Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
And for the department?
No, Your Honor.
And the parties believe the court has complied with the court rule?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir, it's now up to you. As to the charge that you did on or about during July and August of 23, violate condition 31 of your order of probation by having contact with Ms. Wilcox, how do you plead?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
As to count 2, that on or about July 1st of 23, you violated condition 23 of your order of probation by failing to get authorization from the department to change your address. How do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And as to count 3, that you violated condition 1 by on or about October 19th of 23 using the controlled substance methamphetamine, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Well, based on our conversation, it's clear that you understand your right to hearing, you understand your right to counsel, and it's also clear to me that you violated your probation in the ways that we described. I'll accept your pleas. I think they were knowingly, intelligently, voluntarily, and understandingly given. Judgment of guilt will enter as to count 1, count 2, and count 3. Now, the next step in the process is for me to get an update as to your status I think that's going to be useful in this case. The department will prepare a short memo outlining your status, how your probation has been going. I'm going to use that in order to make a good decision regarding sentencing. So you'll get a chance to review that document. If you see something inaccurate, tell Mr. Johnson and we'll discuss it here at sentencing, which will be set in about 5 to 6 weeks. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Johnson, is there anything else that we can address today, sir?
Bond, Your Honor.
Let's talk about bond.
Your Honor, obviously, there's no presumption of innocence or anything like that as to these violations. He has admitted to these violations. By way of providing a little more information, I believe the reason Ms. Wilcox is here is I think that earlier in the case, they were allowed to communicate for purposes of child exchanges, I believe specifically regarding a child of Mr. Plamp's that is not a child of Ms. Wilcox, but that she was helping to take care of. So I also believe that she's the one that informed the court about the use, and it was her concern, and she wanted to make sure that that use was not continuing, and certainly applaud her for doing so. And she had no doubt has seen the articles in the paper of people overdosing and dying, and I think that was very responsible on her behalf. And my client, quite frankly, told me he was very grateful that she had come forward and given that information. So they did have contact. We're not denying that. As to moving residents, I think my client did try to reach out, but didn't get the authorization and just went forward with the move anyways. And then obviously we have the positive test. What I'd note about the positive test is that he indicates that's the first time he had been tested in about a year, or perhaps even more than that. So what I would be asking for, Your Honor, would be a bond to be set of a personal recognizance varietal at this point in time, but with testing. I would like to see 4 to 8 times a month random testing for Mr. Plamp. I think that would be good, not only obviously for himself, but hopefully for Ms. Wilcox as well, to make sure that if he's out and about, he is clean and sober and he's not risking his lives or putting anybody else at any sort of serious risk. He's had no other issues on probation. He's been on probation for some time. So I do think that a personal bond here would be appropriate. And I think it would be enlightening, quite frankly, to the court as to what potential sanction should come from this violation.
All right. Is he working?
Mr. Plamp, are you working currently?
I was working at Shirley Lee since January.
All right.
And you do have a place to stay as well, correct, Mr. Plamp?
Yes, sir.
Not with Ms. Wilcox, correct?
Correct.
No, but I would like a few words at some point, please.
All right. Hold tight, ma'am. Okay. Let me hear
Oh, don't worry. She gets him in.
from the department, please.
Your Honor, excuse me, Your Honor, I can't remember if you were present at the arraignment for Mr. Plamp or if it was Judge Hamlin, but I did state during that arraignment, Mr. Plamp started out well. He was doing great. Completed ATS, was living in ATS housing. Really where he went wrong is when he left ATS housing. And he falsely reported an address that I think maybe he stayed at for all of a week before moving in with Miss Wilcox, excuse me. He still appeared to be doing well until just recently when the violations were brought. So, I mean, I do believe that he can be supervised on bond. He was brought before the court because his drug use was out of control, and he wasn't being honest with it. And I feel that we could probably move forward with the defendant on bond, Your Honor, as he's had some time to sober up now and kind of refocus.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McHugh. Ms. Wilcox, I'll go ahead and hear you since you're the victim on this. I'd be glad to hear what you have to say.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I agree with them. He has a lot of good in him, Your Honor. I don't know what it is about the drugs that keeps dragging him to it, but I don't think him sitting in jail is helping him. I think he needs more treatment. I know him better than anyone. He needs more treatment, and he definitely needs more supervision out in the community. He had been doing drugs for at least 2 months that I know of before his probation officer, before I even contacted his PO. So, he was out getting away with it for a while, and you can lie all you want, but he was also selling it. And I don't care.
I need you to stop right there because he hasn't been
Oh.
charged with that. And
Okay,
I,
that's fine.
I'm
but I
not
know
saying,
for a
hold
fact-
on. I'm not saying that didn't happen.
I know.
What
that's
I'm
fine.
telling you is that
Okay.
I really need to focus on the issues that are before me, and that's,
All right.
can he
I
be
just-
supervised on bond? So you can go ahead and.
Yeah, I think he would be, but he just needs more supervision. And I thought it was my idea for him to come here and stay with me because that address is not a good place for him to be. And it literally is the only place for him to stay in Traverse City. He doesn't have anywhere else to go other than me or Leah's house. He really don't. He don't have any friends and really no one else. So, but Leah's not, I don't know how she lives, but I know I live clean. I don't do drugs here and I don't want it here. So I'm the one who asked him to come here and stay because I thought it would keep him clean, but obviously it didn't. Obviously, me and his son weren't enough for him to stay clean because he got that job at Sarah Lee. And I think that there's people, actually I know because he told me, the people that work the third shift there do drugs. And so he ended up getting involved with it there.
No, don't tell me third shift at Sarah Lee's doing drugs.
But he has to learn to be able to stand up and walk away from that type of stuff. You have to, Johnny, or Dennis, you have to. Like you're
Okay, Ms.
a
Wilcox,
grown man.
that's enough. I appreciate your information. It's very, very helpful.
Thank you.
you.
I believe her in her way. I actually think she's sincere and I think she's telling the truth. However, she will not shut up.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Plamp. If you're not going to Ms. Wilcox's and I release you, where are you going?
2185 Friendship Drive, Traverse City, Michigan.
All right. And whose residence is that?
My cousin, Leah's.
Okay. And is Leah a felon?
No, she isn't. She's a nurse at Munson.
All right. And to your knowledge, is she, and I can put you under oath, is she